And welcome back to the 12th man on this glorious Tuesday. It's March, Colin. The weather is shining outside. The
Great.
lockdown recovery is on its way. The roadmap to recovery is going to be published at some point today. We're going to find out. Well, maybe not exactly. It's going to be data led apparently, but we might have a fair idea when we're back on the pitch coaching, when we're allowed to go back to the bar for a pint and stuff, and we can meet up with friends. So there's a lot of happiness in the air, including myself, after Sunday's great victory for Spurs. I've seen the renaissance of Gareth Bale. We're also going to be looking at your team as well, Colin, Man United. A lot of draws in these big games. Only one goal scored, but we're going to be getting into it, why that might be the case. We're also going to be looking at the Leicester Arsenal game where maybe surprised a few that Arsenal steamrolled Leicester. And where's that Arsenal been all season? And as the writing on the wall again for Leicester, are we looking at a possible similar sort of thing that happened last year where they fell apart towards the end? But only one place they start, Colin. I can't believe it wasn't on Monday Night Football last night. It was the performance of the weekend. It's seeing Gareth Bale take Burnley apart. The great Burnley. No, it was a great performance from Bale himself. And do you sense? When I say this, I don't mean he's going to get back to the Champions League final, Bale, that pit Liverpool, and when he first was at Spurs and went to Madrid, but almost the best he can get back to on his level. Do you sense that Bale could be on its way back?
I'm not sure. I'm a bit more reserved than what you are, Gareth. I'm telling you now. I'm more of the opinion that I know you'll come back at me and say it's been over a period now of about 4 or 5 games he's done it, but I have serious reservations about Gareth Bale. I always have, and I'm not kind of buying this last 4 or 5 games. I just think I'm not sure the hunger's there. I'm not sure the turn of pace is there. He's always going to have the quality. There's no doubt about it. But I'm not sure at the real top level. Spurs getting on that top 4 now. If they want to get on that top 4 and then compete in the Champions League, I'm not sure Gareth Bale will ever get back to that sort of 20 goals a season, 10 assists a season. I'm not sure he'll ever be that player that anywhere near that player that he once was.
You've broken my heart here, Colin. You've broken my heart. I was in such good form.
No, Gary. I looked at that Burnley, and that was so uncharacteristic from Burnley at the weekend. Everybody thought Burnley was going to be solid, and Spurs would struggle.
Well, it was only a month ago. It was only a month ago they went to Liverpool and they looked so hard to break down and stuff. And I don't know whether any goal just sort of threw them a bit, but I think it's important, they note that Wood and Barnes weren't playing, and that was their focal point missing. I thought the boys up front, Rodriguez, he's quite good on the ball, but a lot of balls were getting lumped forward to him, and he couldn't really cope with the physicality. Sanchez and Alderweireld, in terms of an opponent suiting them, Burnley really did, because they didn't have any pace up front at all, and there wasn't too many moments there where Burnley got in behind them and stuff. So, and Vidra again looked a bit lightweight. So I think Spurs definitely hit Burnley at the right time. Just on the turn of pace, I would be inclined to agree with you, but there was one moment in the first half where he did kick it past the Burnley left back, and he started to run and he ran past him, and that was a wee bit of a moment where he thought, oh, maybe he's trusting himself a bit more. But as you say, we have to see it a lot more. And as he did say, I think you've seen it on my sheet, on my cheat sheet, but over the last 4 games, he has scored 4 goals and 3 assists. So that's 7 goal contributions, albeit against a very poor European side in Wolfsburger. So you're not buying the Bale factor. You're more sticking to Gary Neville, where you think that he's lost the hunger and he's on a bit of a holiday, and he just maybe had a wee bit of a flash in the pan.
Possibly, that's what I think. I just think over the past couple of years, I don't know how you can just turn that back on again. Over the past couple of years, he's been, I know, maybe no fault of his own, maybe a bit of Real Madrid's fault, but I never quite bought the Spurs signing of Gareth Bale. Everybody was raving at the very start, and I wasn't. People were saying, I was messaging some friends, and they were saying, would you take him at United? And I said, no, I wouldn't.
People say, and this was in the actually, but people were saying that the league was over, that Spurs were going to run riot with Bale, Kane, and so on.
I'll have to hold my hand up when they were when Spurs were doing well at the start. Now I can't remember if Bale was involved. I don't think he was.
It was that West Ham game. Do you mean you're 3-0 up after about 15 minutes, and Bale was on the bench, and people were going, "Geez, put Bale on this team," and it didn't quite work out that way. And in some ways, we're going to chat about results, maybe influencing how teams play it the whole way through the season. When we look at United and a bit later on. But in terms of that West Ham game where Spurs did lose, they drew 3-3. West Ham come back. It did sort of put a marker down the rest of our season where we didn't really play that way anymore until Sunday. I almost thought that I was watching that game back. Because Burnley were in claret and blue as well. Spurs come fast out of the blocks and completely ripped them apart. But it's obviously we've been quite critical of Jose at times over the last few weeks. And obviously I've been sort of leaning on you for a bit of advice because you've obviously experienced this at United. But do you sense, not just on Sunday, but over the last few games since that Chelsea game, you look at the West Brom game where he played a front four and he's got Ndombele as part of it too. He's not really a defensive player, and you've seen him against West Ham as well. In the second half, they were quite unlucky to lose that game. And then at the weekend against Burnley, do you sense the handbrake's off now a bit? And Mourinho's just sort of letting them go and do their thing because they're so far behind in the top four that they have to get ones, and it's maybe opted them to play.
He's definitely tweaked it a bit, Gary. There's no doubt about that. With Ndombele not playing in front of that and the two pivots, he's now become one of them pivots, and obviously he's quite an attacking player. So he's tweaked that a bit, and then I'm not sure he has been left with any other choice because of where they are in the table. So he's had to become a bit more attacking. I'm not sure he can do that over the course of. He might be able to do it in the odd game here and there, but I'm not sure.
Jose's if they get the Europa League semi-final when they play against Villarreal or something, would he play the same way, or would you see Sissoko coming back in? It would be an interesting one, but at the minute, it does seem to be the way forward for Spurs, because if you look at that defence, there's no real confidence by Mourinho or the players themselves. Like, you almost feel at Spurs, they scored 3 goals, they won games. And the way they played in that first half, where they played with freedom. You seen Bale drifting off the touchline, Kane dropping deep, Son running on behind. It is the best way forward for Spurs, isn't it?
I think it is. And back on Bale, if he keeps that form up, and you've got Bale, Son, and Kane, you're in with a chance against possibly anybody in that league. But I just don't think Mourinho is totally comfortable with playing this way, and as you said, he might revert back to his old ways. And I couldn't believe this, by the way.
You said, where did that come from?
I couldn't believe that the way they played tactically and just going at Burnley. I suppose you're going to go at Burnley anyway, because Burnley's quite a defensive team, but I just couldn't believe the way they opened them up, and they were good to watch. But I couldn't believe that Dele Alli didn't start the game. I couldn't believe. I remember listening to you and you saying you knew he wasn't going to start. You know more about Spurs than me.
I was chatting to Chris Colin over text, and I was on his show, doing the fan cams, but we were saying we both agreed that we're big Dele Alli fans and would love to see him play. But just on that one performance against that European team where the game was over, you're 4-1 up. All right, he scored a great overhead kick, and he did set up a couple of goals. But, Lucas Moura did score in that game against West Ham. He did play quite well. It would have been harsh to drop him. I do believe Dele's a better player. But I think the problem Dele has is Mourinho's quite, as you say, a counter-attacking manager where he likes to see that fast play. I think Dele at times can pick too many touches on the ball, and it doesn't suit the likes of Son and Bale. You want to get them boys on behind, and is there room for Dele and Kane in the same team where Kane drops now deep, whereas before Kane was more of a number 9 and Dele was in deep? Is there room for the two of them? I'm not so sure. It would be great to see it, but I think you're going to see Dele still being a bit part player unless he comes in and starts scoring goals in the Premier League against better opposition.
Well, that's the thing. That's a great point, because Kane dropping deep, but there's no room for Dele Alli playing at number 10 if Kane's dropping deep, and that's a real big tactic of Mourinho at the moment, with his Kane dropping under that sort of playing that false nine position.
I thought it went on the radar, but you obviously watched the game, did you? Some of Kane's passing was out of this. He was picking passes left, right. There was wee nutmegs on players. All right, Bale, that's the show up, but I thought Kane again. Everything went through him. He was brilliant.
Kane, I'm only after saying it to my oldest boy there. I think I'll say it. I think he's the best number 9 in European football. I genuinely believe it. And then the oldest boy says, "He's serious?" And I says, I'm telling you now, he's the best number. He can do everything that's asked of him as a number 9. And then the oldest boy says, even better than Lewandowski. And I says, better than Lewandowski, because Kane can do what Lewandowski does, but Lewandowski can't do what Kane can do in terms of dropping on that number 9. I don't think I'm dropping on that hole and playing almost like that quality number 10 playmaker.
You almost feel that Kane can play with anybody, and he'll improve anyone that's around him. But just before the last point on Bale, I don't know if you've seen it, but all over the Spanish newspapers that Real Madrid are absolutely loving it, that he's now found a bit of form at Spurs, because they think that if he finishes the season strong, they'll end up picking him off him. They don't want him back at all, and they were panicking a bit because they thought he would be coming back. So does that tell you a lot, that the fact that Madrid are celebrating him doing well at Spurs, that they want rid of him, and they're struggling themselves?
It's no, because I think he's burned his bridges with Real Madrid. The way that ended, or the way it was going on over the past year, was horrible to watch for Bale and for Real Madrid. It was doing nobody any favours. It's all down to money, in terms of, it was a massive money, and he didn't seem to have the hunger. They wanted rid of him. He wasn't wanting to go because he was in massive money, unless he got the right deal elsewhere. And I can never see. Can you see him play for Real Madrid again?
I can't see it. I actually think that unless he produces kind of performances like that again, you won't see him stay on Spurs either. I think it was his agent a few weeks ago said that he's close to retirement. It would be such a waste, because he has shown glimpses over the last few games that even when he's probably still not at his best, he still is better than most players in this league. Do you know what I mean?
I know, and that's why I'm probably being a bit harsh in terms of judging him in terms of his past level. But I just think with that lack, I do. By the way, I think there's an injury coming as well with his record.
That's a thing.
With his record injuries, if he tries to go full pelt over the next maybe month or two, I think he's going to pick up an injury.
He's going to have to manage him, because they're playing now on Thursday again, and then they play Sunday. He can't play too. I don't think he'll be able to play both of them games. So they probably will see a Derry come in. Well, and as much as I love Derry, I don't think he gives you the same as Bale, in terms of, look at them finishes Bale was putting on the last few games. They're wrapping the inside of the post. They're wrapping the top corner. That's a player. Even when his confidence is down, he believes in his own ability. That's the thing. He's just done this over a period of, he's not reading these headlines about what Gareth Neville's saying, whereas I think Dele is. I think Dele's confidence is rock bottom. I know he scored that overhead kick, but I still think Dele doesn't have the same belief that Bale has. And it's almost like when Bale does it, it's almost like, I never really associated this with him, but arrogance. That kind of finish, and he just walks away after. He's not celebrating it. No, Dele
exactly.
Bale just wraps that top corner, or wraps the inside of the post, and he just walks away.
I can sense in your voice, and you can't help yourself. You're getting really, really excited. You want to see him flourish and do well in that front three. And maybe you're right. Maybe I don't see it over a long period, and he's never, ever going to lose that quality. Like, as you said, he has got a quiet arrogance, and that's been built up throughout the years, all them trophies he's won and the big moments he's produced. And he knows his ability is probably second to only Harry Kane. If even his ability might be the best in the whole squad, but I'm not sure the fitness in the legs is quite there to be a top Premier League player in terms of what Spurs are looking for.
That'll be a big test, Colin, going forward. If he can stay, can he keep himself fit? Can he keep producing these performances? Because we know he can cope with pressure, but the pressure is on a bit now. These Spurs fans are getting excited. Can he keep producing these kind of performances? Fulham away is going to be a tricky game, but if he was to go and start doing this now, over the next couple of games, going into that Arsenal game, Spurs almost look a different side. We are fully fit, not a fully fit, but a rejuvenated Gareth Bale. And I think what you see with Bale as well, as Kane looks a better player when Bale's in the team, he's got that more confidence. He's not just good. I think as well, teams then don't just occupy Son and Kane. They have Bailey worry about as well. It gives Kane a bit more freedom. It gives Son a bit more freedom. So it definitely will help Spurs moving forward. But one thing that did annoy me over the weekend, and I think you know what it's going to be, was a certain pundit on Sky Sports. He rattled a few fellers when he said what he said. Now some of it may well have been true, but do you think he was slightly over the top at times when and this isn't just me having a go at him. He does this quite with all our teams as well, quite a lot, where it's starting to look to me, right, that he's on there just to get Sky Sports views up on Twitter, on YouTube, entertainment purposes, more than his actual expertise, because we know Roy Keane, and that's what we're talking about. We know he was a fantastic player, and tremendous respect around Europe. Everyone respects Roy Keane, but he did say a few times that I thought were about silly. I mean, he said that Burnley had a better midfield than Spurs, and that it was pick Kane and Son out. This is a very average squad. But when I looked at that, right, you could say that about a lot of teams. If you take Bruno and Rashford or United, are they an average team? If you take Vardy and Maddison, say out of the Leicester team, would they be up there? If you take Van Dijk, who's going out for the season, if you take Mo Salah, Liverpool, are they the same team? If you take Aubameyang and Saka out of the Arsenal team, are they? So you could say it about a lot of teams. So, Colin, what was your thoughts on it?
You couldn't be questioning the greatest midfielder ever to grace the
I know you're a big Roy Keane fan.
No, I'm a massive Roy Keane fan. I am, but I'm a massive fan of the player more than anything else. But he must have had a rough night on Saturday night, was it? Because he had a big fluffy beard, his hair was all over the place, and he must have been on the whiskey or something and cranky, because some of the stuff he was saying was just for the sake of saying it. I think he wanted an argument, wanted to be controversial with Jamie Redknapp. And no, there was some of the things he was saying in terms of Spurs being a Spurs. They can produce sometimes and they're flaky.
100%.
But the fact it went on day one, and I think to be honest with you, I think he was trying. There's an argument there. He was trying to rile Redknapp just for the sake of it.
Do you know what? Ham and Doherty had a bit of a falling out, and he pinpointed Doherty. No one ever said that Doherty was going to take Spurs from sort of mid-table to top four. And there's apparently now there's a bit of history between him and Doherty in the Ireland team. So again, I think Roy Keane at times does have a go at players, and he singles out players that he maybe doesn't like. And again, I think that whole thing was about maybe trying to embarrass Doherty and try to embarrass Spurs a bit, more so than making valid points. Because I do agree, there are some average players in that team. We know the defence isn't good enough. He was trying to make a point about Reguilon, and I think Redknapp was spot on that he's not a good player. I think everyone knows Reguilon is a good player. He is playing in a back four, it's not good enough. But I think he's credit, and you could say that about Kieran Tierney as well. People still have good seasons despite playing in a back four. So again, I think he was found a bit wanting there, and then he ended up changing his mind, saying, "Oh, he is a good player." And then, he sort of saved himself a bit because he said Spurs get 1, 2, or 3-0 today. This is before it happened, because if he hadn't said that, it'd have looked really stupid. But
exactly, Gareth, he lost the run of himself.
Yeah.
So he did. It kept going, and then, as you say, had they reel it back, because it was some of the things he was saying. It was important. Like, I thought it was disrespectful too, because he says you are a bad player if you haven't got an international cap. And people, a lot of fans are sitting at home loving this controversy. Like, I love the argument. I love people love seeing that controversy and not.
That's the thing, right? Because a lot of fans, right, as you say, were loving the entertainment, right? But then a lot of Spurs fans were saying, "I'm paying £47 a month for Sky, and I'm getting this kind of crap. I'm not happy with it." But everybody else was loving it because it's sort of like a tickle-mickey at a Spurs thing, and people loved it. So I don't think it's going to come across that way. As I think Sky were loving it as well.
Of course, Sky were absolutely loving it. Gary, everybody wants to see a wee bit of controversy, a wee bit of heated debate, and not your normal cliched comments that 90% of the pundits make, and that's why Roy Keane's box office. It doesn't care sometimes. It doesn't care who he offends, but a lot of it a lot of it is just controversy for the sake of it surely can't mean half the stuff he says. He can't, because we know he's an intelligent fella.
Yep.
He just got into a debate with Redknapp and he lost the run of himself. And he didn't care what he was saying, but as you say, then he just reeled it back in.
And then another thing as well, I don't think he respects Redknapp. I don't think he respects Micah Richards, right? But one person he definitely does respect is Jose Mourinho, because when he talks about Spurs, he rarely ever criticizes Mourinho. It's always it's the players' faults. What is he keeps chopping and changing for a reason? No. Whereas, surely a manager would go, you know what, you need to pick a settled team and then try and build a piece, sort of blaming all the Spurs players. Because Mourinho's got all these trophies, again, I think Roy Keane has almost done all of them a bit. And he sort of thinks, well, Mourinho's a star, not Spurs. And that everything Mourinho does is valid. He's got a valid excuse for doing this and doing that. So again, you almost see when Richards talks about stuff, he always sort of has a go at him as well. So do you think that Roy Keane only respects sort of people that have the same kind of resume as him?
I'm not sure. I think, first of all, Keane's been burnt in the modern day, being a manager with I suppose, the modern day player of the way they behave. He's been burnt. He's not used to that. He loves old school sort of players and getting their head down, not complaining. He hates all the social media crack. We know all that. But it obviously respects Mourinho for what he's done. And I think when he sees some of the players, the way they behave, he can't abide it. And this is the reason why he's sitting in Sky Sports' studio and not a manager. Part of the reason why. And he always probably sees that. I think he speaks a lot of facts as well too, because you can't take away from Mourinho what he's done, and he's going to be pulled up on it if he slags Mourinho. It's going to be, because you always look back at Mourinho's record and you can't argue it. You always have to say he's an amazing manager. So he's backing him in that way and saying there must be something going on behind the scenes. He's seen it with players in the past. He's been the absolute consummate professional. So, and he's seen players take a hand. So he's obviously thinking behind the scenes, he's not playing for a reason. Mourinho knows players inside out. He knows the game inside out. And that's why he's not playing, because Mourinho sees something behind the scenes that doesn't fit his way of thinking.
Do you think he sort of had a pop at Bale before the game? Do you think he might be sweating a bit now? Because he did sort of have a go at Bale and said that he's not the same player he used to be, and that everyone was raving about him coming on against West Ham. He just put a corner in. But if you watched the game, he did have a good game. He was at the heartbeat of everything Spurs did in that second half, and stuff. And there was that volley that he rattled the bar with, an inch slower, and that's one of the goals of the season. So do you think he might be sweating a bit on that if Bale did have a bit of a renaissance, that he might sort of be pulled up on it?
He won't care less. He won't care less. And the fact Bale could go on a run now of 10 games, right, and be brilliant and get 7 or 8 goals or something. But then he might have a wee off spell and just say it as an off spell. And Keane will probably come back on Sky Sports, say, I told you, look, he's not the same player. That's why he doesn't care. He really doesn't care what he says. I think that's why he's on every week in his box office. I love him, to be honest. I love the way he speaks his mind. But who knows whether it's true or not, that he really thinks that.
No, that's it. And one thing he did say after the Spurs game, the Burnley game, was that Spurs will definitely not finish in the top 4, right? So I'm going to ask you now, do you think the top 4 is still out of the question for Spurs? They're still too far behind?
That's my opinion. I've said to you in the past, I think on one of these podcasts, I can't see Spurs finishing in the top 4. I really can't. Now, we're in a strange season and anything can happen. But I think I said to you in the past, Man City, Man United, Chelsea, and Liverpool, I think I says. I see Leicester coming out of there. I might change my mind on Liverpool because they don't seem...
That's the thing. You couldn't now, with Leicester sort of struggling a bit. Liverpool aren't, they've lost Henderson. Is there a possible, not just for Spurs, is there a possible route for another team now, if they can put a consistent run together, that they can finish 4th? And that means you look at Villa, Everton, West Ham are up there. If you assume Chelsea's going to get in, and if Leicester do have a shaky spell, does that open it up to another team?
It probably I know you're saying Spurs because they've got brilliant fixtures, haven't they, coming up now?
I don't think they will. I don't think Spurs will finish 4th. I don't think they will. But if they can win these 2 games this week, it's against Fulham away and Palace at home, and then they go into that Northampton derby. If they go there and win, I think a lot of people would go, well, maybe it's different now. That'll be the big test. But after that Arsenal game, they've only got United to play out of those big teams at home. That's it. They've got a favourable running. Would that help? And another thing as well, I think now that Celsius back in training, they've got a fully fit squad. Could that help? I don't know. I'm trying to play the percentages, Colin.
No, I know you're being positive, and I suppose you've every right to be with the last couple of performances, but I don't see Spurs making up that ground. Hey,
difficult.
Who here? I'm worried about us.
Top 4. Come on, that now, actually, Colin.
I'm worried about us, but no, I do see. I can see Leicester slipping out of it. I can, and I can see Liverpool making up ground just with their pedigree, and I can possibly see Spurs make it interesting, but I don't see them making the top 4, and I can see Chelsea staying up around there. I just think I always go with the pedigree, Gary, the experience.
Spurs have a big chance this week in terms of if they can get 6 points. It's not easy because Fulham and Palace, but Liverpool play Chelsea on Thursday night. This is their game in hand as well. So Leicester have to go to Burnley away, which I think Burnley will be a different team now because they've got that after that defeat. Sean Dyche will really make them hard to beat. They'll drum it into them. I can see a response. They'll sense weakness in Leicester. That Barnes and Madison's going to be out now for a lengthy spell. Vardy doesn't look fit. He looks knackered. Leicester don't have the same firepower. If they have a bit of a stumble, if Liverpool and Chelsea say play out a draw, and Spurs really go to beat Fulham, then it does put them back into it a bit. But it's whether that's sustainable. That is the thing. And if they did get back into a position as well, I can see Mourinho going back to the old tactics of being because they're so close. That's make it hard to beat again, and that could be the detriment of this team. But I see between now and the season, Colin, top 4 would be great, but I just want to see football. See now, that's what I'll settle for. Just a bit of attacking football between now and the end of the season.
So if he keeps producing these performances and sort of lets a handbrake off and does well and scores goals and goes in quite a decent run, but doesn't make it top 4, says finishes 5th as he's staying.
Chance. I would hope not. I would think that it would if they lost the League Cup final and they didn't win the Europa League and finished 5th. Then you'd have to question that, is that good enough for the players to help? Because you can look at the last part of the season and go, right, he's won all these games, but why did they not play like that for the majority of the season? And that'll be the big thing. Personally, I think Roy Keane had a point when he said there's a lot of average players. But as I said, I think that goes to a lot of the teams. I don't think United are blessed with 25 great players in their squad. They're blessed by a good side, but they're very similar to Spurs and they don't have the same backup. Even look at Liverpool and the same thing. So I think the top 4 this year was more than achievable for Spurs. So to me that would be failure if they didn't finish in the top 4.
Especially with the way this season has went, there has been an opportunity there for them, and they not yet. They haven't grasped it just yet. But as you say, you never know. I just don't see it.
No. Moving on, right? We've seen you see my cheat sheet before, obviously, because I sent you it. But the headline was, "Why can Man United not win the big games?" Right now, one thing that Ollie had going for him when he started United was he did win the big games. I remember they went to Spurs. They went and did a prime Pochettino team 1-0. All right, they might have got a bit of luck about it, but they were hardly beaten. They punished Spurs in the break that day. I think they beat Man City a couple of times last year. They beat Chelsea a few times over the last few years. Liverpool's probably the only one they haven't beat. I know they beat them in the cup, but in terms of the league, they beat Arsenal a couple of times. So it has been one of the big games in the league. This year they haven't beat any of the top teams, the top 6 teams in the league so far. Even if you threw Leicester on there, they drew with Leicester as well. So why can they not seem to beat these teams? Colin, they've only scored 1 goal. And that was against Spurs on a penalty, and they lost. So, what's happening when it comes to these big games for you?
There's a couple of arguments to that. I'm not sure, to be honest, what the main reason. I think there's a few reasons. There's, first of all, Gary, them big games. There's been big moments in them big games. United could have came away with three points in 3 or 4 of them big games quite easily, and nobody would be talking about it. And that would have been 1-0 victories. But it just didn't happen for one reason or another. There's been a decision or a really easy chance that's not been taken. And that's happened. I can't remember now, but I remember that there's been big moments.
The Liverpool away game, there 2 chances was it Pogba and Bruno Fernandes? I county Arsenal game, Cavani must have an absolute sitter. Um,
And
they are,
then,
they are,
and then the Leicester game, sure, we were 1-3-2 with a few minutes to go, and it was a deflected goal. I think Vardy scored. But no, it's just, and then to be honest with you, the last match there against Chelsea was the first time towards the end of the game, the last maybe 20 minutes, where I thought we're afraid they lose the game here. Now, I don't think I can say that as much about the previous maybe 5 or 6 games against the top clubs. I think we've played a certain way. Yes, I don't think we've played for a draw, but I think we've played to be really, really solid and sort of get them big moments and take them big moments. Now, we obviously haven't taken them. And I think that's the way Solskjaer has set the team out. Nobody can tell me Solskjaer set up a team to draw these games. Nobody. It's just so happened he's drew the games or maybe lost the odd one. But there's been big moments that we could have easily won them games. And even Chelsea at the weekend was another example of that. I think I look back to Scott McTominay, an easy pass across the box. They were queuing up for a.
Do you think as well that we were chatting about results early in the season influencing with Spurs, the West Ham game, that sort of prompted a change in Jose? Do you think that 6-1 defeat, the Spurs, prompted a more pragmatic approach to these games and let's make ourselves hard to beat? And we're not going to open up. Do you sense
Possibly.
That that's almost hurt them more than obviously that day? It's only 3 points, but do you think that that's hurt them over a course of the season in terms of how they've approached these games?
Maybe I don't know if it's hurt the players. It's probably hurt Solskjaer that he went to that tried and trusted Fred and McTominay in front of the back four, because we were badly ripped apart against Spurs, and maybe there has been a change in mindset since then. I think Mark Hughes spoke about that last night in Monday Night Football.
Marky's good, isn't
he? He's good. Well, I used to love him, to be honest, but there's been a few things over the years. But no, it probably has been a factor in the way Solskjaer set the teams out, but he hasn't set the teams out to draw. It's just been the way. I think United will win these games, and if Solskjaer stays in charge over the next year or two, I've no doubt that United will come out on top in these big games. It's just the way it's been over the past 5 or 6 games. I wouldn't read too much into it. If you says to me now, at the start of the season, United, yes, they would have drawn 5 or 6 of these big games and lost maybe one or whatever, but are sitting second in the table. I'm sure most United fans would have accepted that.
It's definitely positives on there. The fact it kept clean sheets in these big games and stuff. It's just maybe, as you say, not taking that chance. And I think there is an element as well, a lack of quality at times.
Yeah, no doubt about that.
Fernandes, for whatever reason, it hasn't really happened from in the big games, and players can have off days. There's no doubt. There's people question him saying he's a flat track bully. I don't see that. I think he is a quality player. Yeah. And that's just maybe Liverpool fans or our rival fans looking to dig him out. For me, he's a quality player, doesn't need to prove anything. But you can't rely on him every single game to do it as well. And if he is going to have an off day or against these better teams too, they can man Murky and stuff, and they know the way United play that Bruno Fernandes is key to that. It's not the same when De Bruyne, when you play Man City, it's not just about De Bruyne. There's a lot of our players that can hurt you. So it is almost being man marked to these games, and teams are trying to stop United getting the ball to Fernandes and stuff. So it is difficult. I'm sure that's something that they'll work at over the summer, about possibly bringing somebody in to help Fernandes. Yeah. And maybe we spoke about it, bringing Bale in, gives Kane and Son more space. Something like that can be a simple tweak like that there. But the one thing I wanted to chat to you about, right, was there's a lot of positives come out of this sort of. Gary Neville's been saying on his podcast that they're closer to winning the league than they were under Mourinho, and he believes they're going in the right direction, right? But do you think that sometimes there's a bit of a drop in mentality in United, that it's almost okay to finish second this year, and that it's not, it's all about maybe 2 or 3 years away, that the old United were always about winning leagues? There's almost an acceptance this year that finishing second will be good. I know they've had a difficult few years, but they had a real opportunity this year, is my point. When I look at, I'm obviously looking back to Pochettino and Spurs. They missed opportunities, and you might never get these opportunities again. If they had turned a few of them draws into victories, they'd be a lot closer to Man City. At the moment now, it looks like it's far too big of a gap, and They finished 33 points behind Liverpool last year, and at the moment they're 12 behind City. You know, what to say that wasn't 20 coming into the season. You know, has there been significant progress, or are they making enough progress under Solskjaer to suggest there's going to be trophies, there's going to be leagues around the corner?
I think United's in the right track. I totally agree with Gary Neville. Now, over the past couple of months, there's been really disappointing results. I'm not so much looking at the big games. I think Sheffield United, West Brom, Everton, 3-2 up in the 95th minute. I think that's 7 points alone. Yeah. And if you have them 7 points, and them 7 points you should have had, well, without being disrespectful to Sheffield United and West Brom, you should be beating them two teams, and then obviously Everton. I think it's 7 points or something like that. But you're in a title race if you have them 7 points, and then you're not so much talking about them big games that you've drew or lost. You're still in a title race because you've City to play too now in the next week, is it? I think this weekend. So I think we're on the right track with Solskjaer, albeit slightly disappointing over the last month or two. Solskjaer, listen, absolutely agree. We're in a better place, a much better place than what we were under Mourinho, than what we were under anyone over the past maybe 5 years. I think so. Anyway, that's just my opinion. People may say I'm blinkered and I'm biased. I just know how bad it was. I just remember and know how bad it was under Mourinho, especially towards the end. I know we won a couple of trophies and all, but
do you think as well? But that's sort of clouded your judgment a bit. I'm just saying I do think you are better, but I'm just trying to be objective here. Do you think that's possibly clouded your judgment in the fact that it was so bad under Mourinho? There's almost an acceptance now that it's just better, and we should stick with this because although I do believe he's are better, I am starting to think that Solskjaer might be an early man and not necessarily. It's just the mentality at times. I think more so than the things that's happening like on the touchline and stuff. And you sort of do think he's done a great job, but is it going to get any better under Solskjaer? Has he found his level? Do they now need an hour manager to come in and take on the new level? And that's something we're going to learn over the next 12 months.
Exactly, Gary. I couldn't agree. I'm probably where you are. I don't want Solskjaer to go,
but it doesn't take away. He's still done a great job, by the way.
Absolutely, I couldn't agree more. He's done an absolutely brilliant job, I think. But I still think the jury's out. Nobody can say that he's the man, and nobody can say. I don't think anybody can say that he's not the man. Who knows? I think I've said to you before in this podcast. I think now, if he maintains up around second, which, by the way, for Man United is progress, but it's unacceptable at the same time that they're happy with second. United are never ever going to be happy with second. But I think if they finish second this season, Solskjaer deserves another window with backing.
Yeah, 100%.
And then revisit his position, say come around Christmas and maybe won a trophy this year at the end of the season too as well.
What do you see as success this season now? What do you see this season as being successful and being good enough? I know you're saying about it's all about winning the league, but what would you say is acceptable?
Well, we're not going to win the league. City's going to win the league by at least 15 points. At least City, I can't see any other scenario.
Second, right? But you've already finished 30 points behind again. Do you think that makes a difference in terms of if you're so far away again? Sometimes people can get carried away by finishing second. I think sometimes it's all right being second if you're on a title race, but if you're 20 to 30 points behind, I know Man City's an excellent now, and that sometimes you have to factor that on as well. But you need to be making some sort of headway, don't you?
No, I agree. It's a hard one to analyse. Now, if we were to finish second and 30 points behind, I'd still say he deserves a wee bit more time. That's just my opinion.
I think it is. I think it is as well. I think
he's built up a lot of credit, and I always say I'm always in the mindset anyway. As long as the manager sort of hasn't completely lost top players or lost their dressing room, and he's making progress, you can see the clear progress. Then you have to keep giving him a chance. Like managers don't turn things around overnight. They need time. And Solskjaer, 2.5 years or whatever, or 2 years. I think the next year now for Solskjaer is really, really crucial. Can he win a trophy? Can he really get close to making a title challenge? I remember everybody getting carried away there a couple of months ago saying we're in a title challenge. I think I says to you, talk to me when it's 10 games to go, or and look where it is now with 12 games to go. We're not really on a title race. So,
because United have had a bit of a dip, but City have won 20 games in a row in all competitions. They're in this kind of form where you can't really see them dropping another point. They probably will towards the end of the season, but I actually think they'll probably win every game until they're mathematically clear, and then they focus on the cups. And I've obviously spoken about it. I think they've got a real chance. I think they're favourites in the Champions League. Looking at the teams around Europe, there's nobody playing the football they are, and nobody that can make as many. He can make 5 or 6 changes to his team, and it doesn't affect them at all. So they're in a really strong position. But what do you think United need? The obviously positions, but who would be the ideal players for you in the summer? And do you think that the board will back Solskjaer as well?
First question: what do we need? We need you mean to get right to the top to go and win the league?
Yeah, or at least get within 10 points. I say not 10 points, but maybe at least one of these big games. And when United play City, it's almost like a 50-50 game or a 55-45 game.
We need a good few things. To be honest with you, Gary, if we were to prioritise something now, I would say the priority is a prime Cavani. Cavani's quality is real. He produces good moments, and he has a great effect around the players around him with his infectious work rate and with his. I just don't know if he's what United require to get to the top. Like I don't want to start slabbering.
Cavani 5 years ago, you've got a really.
I don't want to start slabbering about Haaland and Kane and this because.
Would they be the two? Hey? Would they be the two at the top of your list?
He's got every top club in the world worth their salt would take him too. So
who do you think's easier to get, Haaland or Kane?
Well, I have an opinion on Kane. I think he's okay. I'll tell you a reason why. Daniel Levy. Kane, he has, I don't know, maybe 3 years left in his contract, maybe a wee bit more. I don't know. He signed a new contract, didn't he? So there's no worries about his contract. So if somebody came in now looking for Kane, who can afford him? Yeah. Which club in world football can afford him? Right. I'm not sure United are going to spend. First of all, Daniel Levy's going to look for
150 to 200 million.
150 plus. Has to be 150 plus. So the way United are under the Glazers, I don't think United are spending 150 plus on a common 28-year-old. Yeah. Because they always like the resale value to United. They have a bit of security with that.
I think the big advantage to Harry Kane, right, is he's never really relied on his kids. He's got an injury record, fair enough, but he does still play a lot of games. You might miss one be 2 months out of a 9-month season. So or not what 9 months, whatever it is. What are we? August? They May. So about 9 months of season is. He might play 7 to 8 months of that. At the top level. I mean, you're getting Kane. He rarely has a bad game. He can play any position you want. If he has to drop back in his later career, he still can, I think. Almost like a Rooney. I think Kane's got at least 4 or 5 seasons on at the top level, barring a really bad injury. So I think yes, you wouldn't get a resale value, but you get value for money.
I agree from a football perspective. But I'm not sure the Glazers would sanction that type of money. They go out on a Kane. Now, I think Kane would take United very, very close to a title. If not,
at least an hour 20 points. I think he's that good.
I'm probably agreeing with you. I think he takes him close, if not winning the title. But I had this conversation with a friend the other day. If you were to offer me Haaland or Kane right now, and by the way, I think Haaland, who wouldn't want to sign Haaland? There's going to be, he's probably more accessible because of, I think there's a buyout clause there or something with 65, 70 million or something like that. But and then it gives you the longevity because he's only 21 or something. But real tough decision. If you were to offer me Haaland or Kane now, I'd probably say Kane for selfish reasons, because he's Premier League proven. He can do what most number 9s can't do and drop on that hole, and then it gets you he guarantees you the 20, 25 plus, and then he probably guarantees you 10 assists on top of it. Haaland's just a proper goal machine.
That's the thing with Haaland, right? He's doing really, really well, and I don't think you can doubt his ability. But Werner was doing something similar in Germany. That hasn't really worked out. The Premier League is a different kind of league. There's no guarantee when you buy a foreign player. We've seen loads of top foreign players come to England and flop. It does happen time to time. I mean, Haaland does look a proper, he's playing in the Champions League. But then so was Werner last year. I don't think everyone was after Werner last summer. He was the go-to man. Liverpool were looking for him. Chelsea got him. There's a few other teams looking at him. And I mean, when they signed him, I think it was 47 million. His buyout clause was. Everyone said that was a steal, and it's not really happened. Whereas I think if you're buying Kane, you're getting what you. There's no issues about he's going to flop. I don't think.
And he's a proper leader. He's a character. He's a great character as well. You think he's just, wherever he's going to go, he's going to fit in, and he's just going to give everything for that club. And then obviously with the quality and the goals and the assists on top of it, Haaland would probably do the same, because he's just a machine. But there's just that slight risk with Haaland because he's coming from Germany and because he's obviously a European. But I think he's okay. I think he's okay with Kane. I just don't see any club buying Kane in terms of what Daniel Levy is looking for. Maybe PSG might have money just to throw about them, but would Kane go to PSG? No,
I think he wants to stay in England. I think if he leaves, it's either Man City or United, or maybe I can't see Spurs selling to Chelsea, because of the rivalry there and stuff. I think it will be United or City. Can't see Liverpool going and spending that kind of money on him. I think that the obvious one this summer, I've spoken about this before, I don't think teams are going to be able to pay that kind of money. We have no fans for over a year. I think that you might see a lot of swap deals in the summer. Could United possibly throw Martial in there, throw another player in there to convince Spurs maybe they part with Kane, plus cash? I don't know. It'd be difficult. I think Spurs are be very, very, very difficult to prize Kane out of there. I think Spurs, no matter what kind of deal gets offered, I think it's going to be very difficult to get him out of there. Kane doesn't strike me the type of player that's going to put up a fuss. I think he'll accept that this is the way it is. And if Spurs can finish the season strong and possibly win a trophy, it might be enough to secure him the new contract, and that will be it then, I think. So definitely going to be interesting. But another area of the team, I think he's need to strengthen centre half. I think then the two big areas, centre defence and centre forward, and possibly an arm midfielder as well. But would you agree with that?
There's a few areas they need backup for Wan-Bissaka as well, especially against teams who sit on these. He has to improve going forward. Wan-Bissaka, we know how good he is defensively, so you need more from sort of your fullback areas when teams sit on. And it's been evident against I think Sheffield United and West Brom. You need more from them wide areas.
And my last question, Colin, was: do you think Solskjaer will get the backing in terms of will he get the players that he wants, and will he get the players that United need to get to that level?
Probably not. He'll probably have to do a wee bit of wheeling and dealing. Going back to that centre half position, Jesus, we have Maguire, Bailly, Lindelof, Tuanzebe, and probably any two of them, 4 or 5, hasn't really been top drawer to go and win a league. So yes, he does need I just don't know where this centre half's coming from, and how much you're going to go out and spend on this centre half. And as you say, as the Glazers going to back you with 50, 60 million on some of the players that's been bandied about, they go and partner Harry Maguire. So Gary, there's loads of different there's question marks. There's question marks over at right back position, backup, and maybe even playing regularly. There's question marks over partnering Harry Maguire, somebody to partner there. We definitely need a baller in midfield who can do that dirty work as well. I.e. an upgrade on Fred possibly, and then you need a number 9, and there's an argument then for that out and out right-sided forward. Listen, Gary, I don't want to keep rambling on. Marcus Rashford, he scored a lot of goals. He scored goals in big moments, and he has a lot of assists. And it frustrates me at times. Greenwood has shown amazing potential and probably will be a top player. Martial, oh my God, I just doesn't look as if he enjoys football. I'm not sure wherever. I was really happy with him last year, and coming on this season, I was thinking this is Turnham. He's going to be a brilliant number 9 for us, but I'm not sure. We might have to pull the plug on him. So there's loads and loads of question marks now, and I think Solskjaer's the right man. They bring in the right players and turn things around. I do think he is, but as you say, whether he gets that financial backing is another thing. They'll have to wheel a deal. They'll get some money for Lingard.
I think at the minute, second and possibly domestic trophies as good as you can get for United with that squad of players. I think for United, they challenge in the Champions League again, and they challenge at the top of the Premier League again. They're going to need at least 3 world-class players, and maybe 2, get away with 2, a centre half and a centre forward, and possibly a top-class midfielder. Maybe not world-class, but up there. You look at players around. One of the players I think's going on the radar a lot this season is Basuma at Brighton. I think he would make a big difference to a lot of teams. He's probably not world class, but probably gives you a bit more on midfield in terms of steel. You know what I mean?
Player.
And he might be able to help Bruno and stuff. So that'll be interesting to see what happens with him in the summer. But just before we move on to Leicester and Arsenal, there was a lot of VAR controversy at the weekend. Obviously, when we chat about the West Brom Brighton game in a minute, but obviously in your game, I thought this was a stonewall penalty. Callum Hudson-Odoi, and again the referee goes over the monitor. You almost think it's going to be a cert penalty. Why do you think he changed his mind? Why do you think he agreed with what do you think he agreed with what his own decision when it's clear? The rule. I was actually doing the UEFA license there during the week, and the last module was laws of the game with Andrew Davey, obviously an Northern Irish referee, and we were chatting about the handball. He was one of the topics was handball, and again, if the arm's in an unnatural position and it strikes you, it's a penalty under these rules. So his arm was in an unnatural position. The laws of the game state that's a penalty. So why was it not give?
Strange, Gary. United have had. I don't want to cry about it, but United have had these sort of 50-50 controversial decisions go against them over the past couple of months. No, it's not the reason for dropping all these points, but they've had loads of these wee moments. I don't know why he's stuck with his decision when the VAR have told him to go and look at it. So first of all, when they tell him to go and look at it, there's obviously a big case there for it to be overturned.
I think now the rule is when in England, right? If they tell you go and look at it, that means the VAR believes it should be overturned. Penalty. At the time, I overturned or else give a penalty, for example. So he disagreed with the referee's decision. He's saying, look, I think it's a penalty. Go you and have a look at it and see for yourself. So that's what prompts him to go over.
And the only explanation I have is, we heard what Luke Shaw says and all that. The only explanation I have is there has been a lot of media furore around United getting these big decisions before this last month or two, and loads of penalties for them. And we've heard Klopp come out and say it, and we've heard other people. I don't know if he was under pressure and decided that this is not strong enough to be given as a penalty. We know Hudson-Odoi didn't mean to handle the ball. I think he was trying to get his arm across Mason Greenwood, but it just happened. They had it with his fist there, but you say the laws of the game. If your hand's in an unnatural position and it hits the ball, it's a stone wall. Like I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it at the time.
I think if it's 5 years ago, no one would argue because it's different. But now, because you're seeing so many penalties give for some more incidents, you want to see consistency. And as you say, laws of the game instead of should be a penalty. Now, I think as well that the players as well. So you look at I haven't seen too many incidents this year where Chelsea players were all around the camera where he was. I don't think that should have been allowed. And Luke Shaw obviously said what he said, and then he's been told you can't say that. But I do think there was some sort of element in there. I don't think he's just completely made that up. I think there was probably some sort. He's probably sensed that there was a bit of pressure on the referee, and that's maybe why he didn't give it. I don't know.
Well, you could be right about the pressure behind. I couldn't believe Azpilicueta. I couldn't believe how close they were when he was looking at that monitor. Yeah. And then I couldn't believe it was overturned. But you're saying about Luke Shaw's comments there, or it wasn't overturned. You're saying about Luke Shaw's comments after the game. The FA reviewed his comments and and took no action. So what does that say? For me, that says that the ref has possibly says what Luke Shaw has said he says.
Well, we'll never know, I suppose, but there is an element of that. But I always watch that ref watch on Monday on Sky Sports, and Darren McGallagher 9 times out of 10 he'll stick with the referee. But on this occasion, he actually said he thinks it's a penalty. He can't not, but again, he made a silly release. He said, I think the referee's been unable to tell if it hit Greenwood's hand first. So, again, making up these silly excuses. Again, it's clear he's watched it a few times. Fair enough. If it's one look in the game, I can understand that. But the fact they've got VAR and they come and look at it, it's madness. But one probably the biggest VAR incident of the season, possibly the most controversial. I mean, if this was a big game, if this was United City at the weekend, there will be uproar about this. The fact that it was West Brom Brighton, it still got a lot of coverage, but I probably didn't get the coverage it deserved. Probably one of the most controversial incidents I've ever seen in Premier League history. It was Lewis Dunk's goal being ruled out for Brighton against West Brom. So I'm sure most people that have watched have seen it because it was all over Twitter. But the referee actually whistles. They let Dunk hit the free kick, and just before it hits the net, he whistles again. The ball at this stage, I know it's not in the net, but it's as good as on the net. It's flying into the back of the net, and then under a bit of pressure, he gives the goal, and then the VAR instructs him they overrule it. So just before we get into who was right and wrong, Colin, how embarrassing was this?
Oh, jeez! The ref. I don't know what the ref. He panicked, or I don't know what he's done. Gary, I swear now, I refed a wee 5-a-side for my girlfriend's youth work about a year and a half ago, and I done something similar. I done something similar. I blew for a free kick, and then all the wee young boys turned on me. Right. This was up in Craigan, a wee 5-a-side, and I realised I'd made the wrong decision, and I went, play away. So I blew for a free kick, and the wee boys turned on me, and I went, play away, and then the other team looked at me. So I completely panicked in that situation in a wee 5-a-side, under 13s, under 14s, a bit of crack, charity football. That referee completely lost his mind. I don't know what he was playing at there. I don't know what he was thinking, but it was totally embarrassing at the top level of football, what happened there.
In my opinion, right, he's made a mistake letting the free kick be had early, because it's clear that it shouldn't have been took. Once he's done that, I think it's obviously not West Brom's fault either, but Brighton shouldn't be punished for it. I think it's one of them human errors where West Brom just have to accept that the referees made a mistake. I mean, it's not fair on Brighton. If Brighton get relegated, that's a big moment in the season, because rightly or wrongly, Brighton shouldn't have done out of that goal. As you say, he's panicked a bit, but Lee Mason's been in the media a lot over the last few weeks. There's obviously the one where he told Mike Dean to send Souček off. And Mike Dean obviously agreed with him. That was obviously rescinded. So again, the FA agreed that was wrong. And then Nuno's obviously had a go at him a few weeks ago. Before that, he said that he never wants Lee Mason to referee an all rules game, because not just his actual standard of refereeing, he's the way he speaks to the players.
The arrogance.
He's
dismissive,
and he doesn't respect them, and then it's all about him.
I've heard the standard is terrible. He's obviously being protected with that one and the West Brom and Brighton one. But as you say, he should have took the flak in terms of that. Should have been a goal, and that's it. It's as simple as that. He's made a mistake, but he's obviously been protected, and they all get protected. But it's a joke, a standard of refereeing. It's an absolute disgrace.
Colin, where they're going to have to do something about this in the summer. It's not that bad now. The fact that they're not being invited, the last World Cup they weren't invited. Any English referees weren't invited. I think you're going to see again the Euros. There's no chance they're going to have any English referees there. I think the likes of Michael Oliver's maybe hard done by, because the reputation's been damaged. He is probably a decent referee, but the problem is the other ones are not good enough. I can't remember too many games this season where I've said, that was a great refereeing performance. There's almost a lot of controversy, and it's almost like they're enjoying the controversy, which is the biggest issue, that they're loving the spotlight. And they all seem very arrogant.
I know it's because of because we all know their names, they're almost like a celebrity, almost in line with footballers. They shouldn't be. They just shouldn't be. We shouldn't know referees' name. They should go unnoticed, but it's not. It's just the way of the world at the minute, and they're never ever held accountable. They never ever have to come out and explain a decision. You see in other sports, the referees explain their thoughts and their decisions and their thought process throughout the game, but referees are just
the rugby is just a different level, like, you know what I mean, and that's the big issue at the moment. But here, first game on Sunday, two teams that obviously played on a Thursday night. So Arsenal got a big result against Benfica. They were minutes away from going out, and they got a goal. They sent them free. And Leicester, very disappointing against Prague. People topped them as possible outsiders in this Europa League, and I have to say Prague are a good side as well. But it was a surprise after the first leg that Leicester didn't go free. So you almost feel that this was the perfect opportunity, and they bounced back. Started well with an early goal, but they really faded out of the game. And to be fair to Arsenal, they played quite well. But just on Leicester at the moment, before we get into Arsenal, the injury to Barnes obviously was more misery for them. And we see Madison get injured in the Europa League game. Vardy looks a bit tired. Looks like he's carrying an injury. Do you think there's a big warning signs for Leicester now? And there'll be a lot of other fans fearing that you could see an hour implode after last year. I
absolutely agree. Even with Barnes and with Madison and with Vardy, Gary, I don't know. Maybe I'm blanker because Leicester are not one of the top dogs. I thought there was every chance that they could sort of falter away from that up around that top. Top four.
I have to admit, I couldn't see it. I couldn't see it this year happening.
I also said it last year when they were seen United catching them. I don't know. Maybe it is because they're just a Leicester, because it's Leicester. I might be wrong. That's the reason why I'm saying it. But I thought they were playing above their station last year, and I think there's every chance they could slip away down around fifth or sixth.
It's not just them key players; they have a lot of injuries. I can't mind. I've seen a list of about 8 or 9 players, and they were all players that would play. If not in the starting 11, they'd be coming off the bench. So that is a big concern. You've seen the wee left back; he struggled big time against Pepe. That's a big. Everyone watching that game with him and saying, "Right, let's get at this young fella." And that's a problem they have. And there just seemed to be a lack of quality, but not just a lack of quality, Colin. They looked absolutely dead on their feet, and that's a big concern.
Exactly, and they're missing Vardy's goals. Vardy, I don't know when's the last time
he struggled, doesn't
he? He's always popped up with 1 or 2 in games, and when you take that away, then you're obviously depending on Madison, who was doing well, but now he's injured. Barnes was doing well, and he's away. So, they've probably 1 or 2 to come in, but they're not at the level. They have that Turkish fella in there to come in, and they have decent players, but I'm not sure that they're going to cope without.
Even though they've got a bit of an advantage, they've got a bit of an advantage in terms of their points advantage. You're still going to fall out of the top 4.
I can see them slipping. I can see them being reeled in. Like there's. Don't get me wrong. I haven't looked at their fixtures. And
the problem is there's still a third of the season to go. There's still 12 games left. So this is a big. Last year they were 8 points ahead of United at the before the lockdown. So there was only 9 games left, and they were reeled in. In less amount of games. So there's definitely a possibility it could happen again.
I think when you have that. I think it always helps. It's a positive for the big club when come towards the end of the season. I think the smaller club with sort of I don't want to say a weaker mentality, but I think the big club have an advantage come towards the end of the season. They deal with these games and deal with the pressures a bit better.
I think as well their last 3 games are Chelsea, United, and Spurs. That's a really tough end of the season. The way they finished last year, that's going to be in the back of our heads. But obviously Arsenal took full advantage of it, and to their credit, played very, very well. Willian, probably his best performance in an Arsenal shirt. We knew there was a player on there. Demonstrating TV kicks on. Pepe has found a bit of form this season at times. And to be fair, it wasn't Arsenal's strongest side. They rested Saka. Aubameyang was rested. Partey's not really featured a lot because of injury. So there's still strength and depth to come back on that team. But where are you at with Arsenal at the minute? Because the 1 week they're playing well, and then the next week they're getting beat. How do you summarize Arsenal? And Do you think Arteta's improving them, or do you sense that it's a bit of a brick wall where he just can't find any consistency with these players?
It's a strange one, isn't it? We are Arteta. I like Arteta. I think he'll be a top manager. Maybe wrong in that, but it comes across that he will be a top manager. It's just, I think Gary's only in the job too. What, a year and a half or whatever? So
a year and a half coming into the season.
A year and a half coming into the season, so he has to be given time. It was like Solskjaer too. Solskjaer done well, and then he had a dip. But I also still seen the positives. When you have to be pragmatic, you have to take a rough with a smooth and see the bigger picture. And I think,
go ahead.
No, as I say, I think with Arteta, I think you have to see, like he's introduced them young boys. He's brought Saka through. He's brought Smith Rowe through. He's still defining his probably best 11, and he hasn't got the full use of Partey yet. He probably hasn't got the best of Woolley in yet. We're starting to see glimpses of Pepe. So I think if I was an Arsenal fan, albeit you'd be raging with the position you are in the table, I would see that there's brighter days ahead. I think, anyway.
I was going to say, see the way they're sitting 10th in the league. A lot of their fans seem to be very patient still, though. Do you sense that because of where they've been over the last few years, that they've lost a bit of that mentality? We talked about with United, and being that, Arsenal fans were raging when Wenger finished 4th. They're saying it wasn't good enough. Now it almost seems that they're not accepting where they are, but it's going to take time. It's going to take, but then you look at our managers like David Moyes, where they were last year, and look where they are now. Should it take as long as what people are saying? Should it take 3 or 4 years, or should you just, in your opinion, do you think that these things take time, or do you think that why is it that our managers find it quicker? I don't know.
No, why should Arsenal fans expect? I don't know why. First of all, take us back to the summer before the season started. What did Arsenal fans expect? What would have been a good season? You could not have told me, if you're an Arsenal fan, a realistic Arsenal fan, that we have to finish top 4 this year. Why is
expected top 4? Not maybe not top 4, but they'd be challenging at least for top 4.
And here, they might have a run now towards the end of the season. They might finish closer to the top 4, and what because the season's not over. There's 12 games to go. But what gives Arsenal fans the right to say we should be up around that top 4? Like, United spent good money. Chelsea spent a bucket load of money. Man City are always going to be up there. Liverpool's always going to be up there. Spurs have spent a few pounds under Mourinho. So money talks. I think Arsenal have spent a few pounds, but not probably, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, not as much.
They spent more money than Mourinho did in the summer. Faster.
Oh, did he?
Yeah, well, Partey cost 45 million. He was all
but I think Spurs' squad was already maybe in place before Arsenal strengthened in the summer. So I think they had that advantage. I just don't see fans have to be realistic, Gary. I think it's going to take time for Arteta.
It could well be. But I just think that maybe some Arsenal fans were carried away with this whole Arteta-Pep connection, that he could be the next Pep type. And I just don't know if that's good number 2s don't always make good number 1s. And I think he's done well in certain games. I think if you analyse his whole tenure, the league form has been awful. The second half, this whole second half of last season, and they were poor in the league. And I think the FA Cup one marred over a lot of the problems. I think to be fair, it's great. It's a great achievement. They won a cup. So you can't take that away from Arteta and the Arsenal players. But this season, I think a lot of Arsenal fans expected them to kick on from that FA Cup, and it hasn't really happened. And they've been in the bottom half of the table most of the season. I know they're sitting around 10th now, but I just think, should they have made more progress by now? I think they always say, they saying to me that it took 5 years for Klopp. They won the Champions, or 4 or 5 years for Klopp, but Klopp's first full season, they finished 4th. Ollie's first full season, they finished 3rd. So I still think that they should have been pushing a lot. And as you say, they could have a run. But I think if they finish around 10th, the warning signs are that's not good enough for Arsenal.
I would say that's definitely not good enough, finishing around 10th. But who knows? They could finish 5th or 6th.
Where do you think they will finish?
I do think they'll finish up around the top 6 or 7. I do. Maybe again I'm blankered again because they're a top club. And I think always it always sort of evens itself out. The top clubs always come up around there towards the end.
I'd be surprised if they weren't finishing top 7 or 8 minimum. I think if they're more than 8, that would be.
He's got a massive job in his hands. It's not easy, and he needs time. Arteta, if people like, if Arsenal fans or the Arsenal board think somebody's going to come in there and take them into that top 4 easily, then they have another thing coming, because all these top clubs are strengthening too every season, and they've already had a base to work from. So Arsenal fans are going to have to be patient with Arteta, and I do think if you give him time, I think he'll do rightly. I do. And now,
patience and if virtue, as you're saying, then
the what?
Patience is a virtue.
I do think I've learned to have patience over.
When it comes to Spurs fans, that they're saying it's not good enough, and we should be doing better. Do you think that maybe Spurs fans are being impatient then, and like we Arsenal and Man United, we need to give Mourinho more time?
But then you have to see what way the style of football you have to add that up as well with Mourinho, and the defensive performances and also the circus in which he creates around the club. And seriously, now maybe you think I'm just being objective. You know what I mean? Hey, listen, Mourinho. I just don't like Mourinho. Maybe he should be given time.
I'll be honest.
I just don't like him. I think he's a narcissist, but I think he should be given time to go and over the next few years try and get Spurs in the top 4 and challenge. I just think he's got let off the hook with no fans being there this season.
I personally think, right, with any manager, if you've been in the job 18 months, for example, like Arteta and Mourinho, who come in mid-season, you've had half of that season plus a full season. I think if you're not seeing any improvement after that, and you have to be honest, at the moment, Spurs and Arsenal haven't improved at all. Their league position, maybe an FA Cup, Arsenal won, you could say that, but a lot of teams have won FA Cups over the last few years and maybe not kicked on. So again, that can be a tricky one to assess. But I think in terms of the league position and performances against the big teams as well as another one I look at, has there been a massive improvement from the previous manager? And I'm basing it on the end of Pochettino as well, not just the whole. So I look at that and I think, well, he's not really improved. What's they say, give him another season, he will. Are we putting ourselves further behind by giving this boy more time? Because you're going to have to back him if you keep him. So I think in 18 months, if you're not challenging for them, for that top 4, and you're not showing again any real signs of improvement, I think you've every right to question and possibly look elsewhere for a new manager. That's just the way I am. Maybe Arsenal fans are being a bit more patient, I think, because they just wanted Wenger out for a long time. But I think if you compare Arteta to Emery in terms of the league, I think Emery done better. And that's the thing that maybe they're missing, that maybe the fact that the FA Cup won and the fact that the Pep connection, they see something different. I don't know.
You might be right. I liked Emery too, by the way.
He's doing really well with Villarreal too. So
here, listen, nobody can, just because Arsenal fans says he didn't do a great job at Arsenal, nobody can say he's not a top coach. He's a great coach. He has to be. Look at his record in the past, and look, he's way back now, and he's done well, as you say, with Villarreal. So I do think, unless you're going under a ready-made sort of squad and a ready-made club, managers have to be given time. And whether you think that might be 18 months, 2 years, 3 years, it depends where that club was at that time, and how much financial backing they get.
I just think if you're still in the same position 18 months down the line, that's not good enough. I mean, you look at
I agree.
I'm just being controversial. This doesn't happen every single team, but David Moyes took a relegation team, the team is fighting for Europe this year, with less backing than Arteta and Mourinho. So why can Spurs and Arsenal not expect that kind of improvement inside 18 months? And I'm not saying it always works like that, because I'm not naive to think that, but that's just me being objective. And that's me looking outside the eyes of being a Spurs fan. If I'm a neutral, well, why is West Ham doing this and Spurs and Arsenal are struggling? That's my point.
It's a great point. But the only thing I'll say to that is, and I love David Moyes. I like David Moyes. I've always liked him. He's at West Ham playing a certain way, and he's not expected to be on the front. Well, I suppose if he gets more time, he's expected to be on the front foot and proactive with his play. So fans are accepting, because of West Ham, where they were previously, fans are accepting results and accepting maybe sometimes sitting in and hitting teams, and just fans are just happy with the points on the board at the minute. I think West Ham fans, whereas if a Spurs or an Arsenal where they play a certain way, i.e. West Ham, the way they're playing, I don't think
Spurs are not playing again.
No.
They come back. To be fair, a lot of Spurs fans in the first half of the season didn't care about the style of play because they were top of the league. So again, I think you nailed it. Football's all about results, and even if they don't like a style of play, if they're getting results, they'll not care. And look, my point again, if you don't need to David Moyes thing was, you look at Pochettino when he went on the Spurs, he had a very, very poor side. He inherited that AVB Tim Sherwood mess. They finished fifth in their first season, a few points off fourth. The second season, we have a very young team that no one really fancied. Finished third, second, then they went and finished second. So there was steady progress. The style of football was good. You look at Klopp, look at the team he inherited, Liverpool, a very, very poor squad. His first full season, they finished fourth. Then they went and finished, was it third or fourth again? And then they got the Champions League final. So there was steady progress every single season. What I'm seeing with Spurs and Arsenal at the moment is very similar to how it was 18 months ago. That's my point. And that after 18 months, you want to be seeing some sort of improvement. And you can't go from what's happening is a lot of, although I was very excited about Sunday's one, I'm not getting carried away in terms of, that's Mourinho's the man. Now I'm looking to assess at the end of the season, just the way I think Arsenal fans should assess Arteta at the end of the season. But what the Arsenal fans are tending to do is they're forgetting about the 4 or 5 games before, and then when they beat a Leicester, they're like, this is it. So they're sort of being blindsided, I think, whereas Spurs fans are looking at it a bit more evenly. Maybe it's because the fact they don't like Mourinho helps, but it is an argument that I think after 18 months you should be seeing some sort of improvement. It doesn't have to be loads and loads of improvement, but at least a steady. No Arsenal fan or Spurs fan can sit here now with any 100% confidence being neutral and say Arteta and Mourinho are the right men for us moving forward. I don't think they can.
I'm not sure there's many. See, that's the thing. I'm not sure there's many clubs can say that about their manager.
But I'm even saying Chelsea with Tuchel after a few games that he looks like he could do things at Chelsea. And it's just wee things you notice. I don't know. Maybe it's just me being a coach, but I look at Chelsea and I think if he gets because of the style of play he wants with midfielders, if he gets 2 sort of possession-based players on there, they're going to be a completely different team next year.
Maybe. I think some of his comments are already.
That's the thing. He can be. He's very like Mourinho in terms he can rub players up the wrong way. That'll be the thing. But I just mean his style and his possession. I see more of an identity at Chelsea in 1 month than I see at Arsenal and Spurs in 18 months. I don't think Spurs and Arsenal have an identity. I just don't see it. Spurs is very counter-attacking, and Arsenal, I don't know, sometimes they do be counter-attacking, sometimes they pass the life out of teams and then just swing balls onto the box when they haven't really got a striker that suits that. But I see with Chelsea a style of play already within a month. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I don't know.
No, I agree with you. I do see a style of play, but he's got a lot of top players there as well. It's easier. It's easier. They've spent a hell of a lot of money, so he's walked into a brilliant squad.
Colin, you're one. See, it's great that you see a different side in me because you're very patient, where I'm very impatient. I want to see progress immediately because I'm coming from a time of Pochettino where we were patient for years. We wanted, we believed in Pochettino, and now that maybe it's went away, maybe I'm blinded by the fact that I want to see success imminently. Maybe it does take a bit more time, but I just look at all our clubs and I think 18 months is a fair. At the end of the season, I think you can judge Arteta and Mourinho fairly on 18 months and say, well, after the right people, they take you forward.
I never thought, you might disagree, I never thought Pochettino should have been let go so early anyway. I always think because of the job he done, I think he built up a bit of credit there. All right, results and performances were bad come the end. I think he should have been given a wee bit more time. It's sort of like they had their first stumbling block. Okay, hold on a minute here. They lost their balls a wee bit. The board.
I think do you know as well. I think the big thing that I'm seeing possible things with United and Liverpool now at the moment is Pochettino got the best out of the squad he had for so long. He needed backing. He didn't get that backing, and it fell apart. You look at Liverpool at the moment; they didn't get back properly in the summer after winning the league. Now this season they're struggling. If that doesn't improve next year, you could see Klopp moving on. If Ollie doesn't get the backing this summer and United fall backwards next year, you could see a change. I think sometimes managers can be a victim to not being backed by the board.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I come back to that point. Money talks. Solskjaer definitely needs a backing this summer, because I think he's proven that he can get the best out of his squad, and if he does get the backing, then it can be judged on that then on his sign, because he can have no excuses. If he does get the proper backing from the board, then you can sort of review it in next Christmas and say, hold on a minute, we've backed you here. There's been no progress, and you go back to that point after 18 months. Progress can be measured in a lot of things as well. I don't necessarily see it, and I suppose this is just me looking at it from you're saying about a coaching point of view as well. I don't necessarily see, especially this season, because it's a strange season. You look at Arsenal and where are they, 10th or whatever, 9th or 10th, and people say they've been poor. But you look at it and say he's still absolutely got the players on his side. You would think that anyway. You don't get a result at Leicester. You don't get the result at Leicester like that if you don't have the players on your side. He's brought through them young players as well, and he's never ever had a settled side. You look at Tierney, he's been out of the team in and out, and Aubameyang, I think, has been in and out, and he's brought through them young players. He's signed Odegaard, Partey's been in and out. I'm just talking about Arsenal, and I look back at United as well, and I remember too when Solskjaer went through that awful bad patch. Remember he had the good start, and then in through the terrible.
It was that just after he was made manager, wasn't it? Made full-time manager.
Yeah, and I remember sitting in the barbers and speak football all the time to this wee barber, and he says to me about Solskjaer, and I says, listen, I don't want Solskjaer out, and everybody was clamouring for him to go out at that point, and I says, I see progress, I see positives, and he looked at me, the barber, and he shook his head and goes, and it was.
I thought the barber's on top of the hill.
Aye, He-Man.
That wee Stevie.
Aye.
Do you know where I know it was Tom? I don't even. We were actually chatting. I was chatting with him a few weeks ago in the shop. I know, and he used to work on Pete's Barbers, and he was always a big United fan. And I mind him saying to me, he moved to top of the hill. So that's I think on it was him.
It was him. It was He-Man. He goes. I says, He-Man, I'm telling you, I see positives, but I didn't just. I wanted. I suppose maybe I was a wee bit wanting to see Solskjaer do well, but I seen positives with the way some of the players were playing with a happy smile still, even though results weren't going their way. There was a wee bit better resilience that he had built up, and a togetherness that he created, Solskjaer, and he obviously needed a wee bit more backing, and they were more attacking, they were more on the front foot, and I wanted to see him being given more time, and I think it's been kind of justified so far. All right, it remains to be seen whether he can take him to that next level, but I think he has progressed him. So what my point is, once he had a stumbling block, I don't think he's just say, oh, look at that league position, or they're not doing such and such. I think you have to look at an overall picture and see, hold on a minute, if he gets a few pounds behind him there and strengthen them a couple of areas, can I really take him? And I think Arteta could do good things with Arsenal. I do.
Great words, Colin. Really good insight there. And again, I have been a different opinion, but I can completely understand your side of it, and I'm sure a lot of Arsenal fans will be agreeing with me. Maybe not as many Spurs fans, but definitely Arsenal fans and possibly United fans as well. So that was really good. Hey, Colin, moving on to the midweek predictions. They finish off the show. We've got a few games this week. It's more games in hand, so you might see the table look a bit. It might take a bit more of a better view this week come Thursday night. But Man City take on Wolves tonight, only game of the night. How do you see this one going?
Hoping Wolves put up that rear guard that they always do.
Colin, if Wolves were to get a result tonight, United were to go 1-1 tomorrow night, and then you beat them on Sunday, there is a bit of hope. But at the minute, Man City look absolutely irresistible.
Yeah, City will win by at least 2 goals tonight. They'll break them down eventually, and they'll be too good for Wolves.
Do you think City's got this record in sight? I think they're 3 games off that record of the most consecutive victories in Europe.
Unbelievable. Who can argue it? It's frightening how their squad, they can just chop, as you said earlier, 3, 4, 5, 6 changes, and it doesn't take away from their quality, and they're unbelievable.
So what's your score prediction?
3-0.
3-0. I'm going to go 2-0 Man City. Moving on to Wednesday, 6 o'clock, Burnley against Leicester. Now, this will be interesting because Leicester, obviously, from the media the last couple of days about talk of Burnley and stuff. Burnley, I'm expecting a big response after that Spurs game. How do you see this one going?
I can see Burnley getting a result, but I don't see them winning. I don't think they have the firepower is what they. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about Barnes and Wood. Are they back? I think Wood's back.
Wood come off the bench against Spurs, so I think he is back.
Maybe I'll go one each. I'll go one each. I don't think Leicester will beat them.
Totally agree with you, Colin. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw as well. Sheffield United against Villa. It's getting pretty desperate for Sheffield United. I think, we've got 2 home games this week against Villa at home, who I know they beat Leeds, but, it's not the full strength Villa. They're going to be missing Grealish, Hamptons, and Dire Straits at the minute. They've got them on Saturday. I think if they've got any chance of staying up, they need at least 4 points. Probably need 6. But you see them getting any points here against Villa?
They might sneak a point, and I'm just saying that on the basis that Jack Grealish is a big miss for Villa, although they had a good result at the weekend without him, which surprised me.
They're very solid at the back, Villa. They don't beat them on the football last night. They are Dean Smith's done a really good job on.
Excellent job. This could be a draw again, or I don't see Sheffield United beating Villa. It could be a 0-0 or a 1-1.
One thing I spoke about, been quite critical of Spurs with his recruitment. I think if you look at Villa's recruitment in the summer, it's been excellent. Martinez was a great buy from Arsenal. In terms of finding a second string goalkeeper with that quality, they pocket a real gem in Martinez. And I actually
paid for him too, guy.
They paid Mike money, but it was a really good. I think it was 22, 23 million. I think it was a really good signing. I mind at the time thinking it was a great signing. Martinez had a lot of experience working a lot of different goalkeepers at Arsenal. And I think Arsenal were back in the corner. He wanted to play first team football, and they had to pick a choice, either him or Leno. I don't think there's a lot between them. I think Leno's been quite suspect at times this year, but great find for Villa. The centre half, Konza, they spoke about last night, was excellent. Yep. Douglas Luiz, who we've raved about before this season. Yeah. I think Villa are a really good side. There'll be a lot of. I always think the danger you have when you have a good season and you're an Aston Villa or a team around mid-table is that it attracts unwanted attention from our top clubs. Quite quickly, it can unravel. But maybe the fact that Villa have got a bit of a pedigree, it might encourage them to keep them players. But I think Villa will find a way. They won this. I'm going to go for a 1-0 Villa victory. What about yourself?
It's kind of hard to agree with you. I just think maybe Sheffield United might sneak a draw. I'll go 1-1.
1-1. 8:15, big game, Crystal Palace against Man United. United, the title obviously, as you say, you think it's over. But if they can, even if City won the night and United won the morning, at least they go into that game on Saturday with half a chance if they were to get a result. It is back to 9 points, which I know it looks a big gap the way Man City are playing. But gaps have been turned over before. I think it's a big week if United were to drop points here and City were to beat them, that would definitely be it. So just as a fan, you'd like to see at least a bit of fight when you call and keep it going as long as you can, keep momentum going, build up for the cups. So how do you see this going against Palace? They've really struggled recently, Palace. I know they've got a couple of results, but they've been very fortunate to get them results, haven't they?
I'm generally you've listened to me, I'm generally a positive person with United, but I hate to say it, I'm looking behind me more and I'm looking ahead of me at the minute. And I suppose that's just the way United have been over the last few years. I don't want to be caught. So if you offered me second now, obviously I'd snap your hand off. So I think if United beat Palace tomorrow night, then it's a good point against Chelsea. So I'm almost saying this is a must-win going into the Man City game, because obviously we're playing Man City at the weekend. I think this is a must-win, and I think we will nick it. 2-1 United.
I think Palace are really struggling outside, and they're very fortunate a couple of results there. They are well organised, but I just think United will have too much quality. I think it'll be comfortable enough. I think I'm going to go for a 2-0 United victory. Thursday, West Brom against Everton. Everton last night, it wasn't a great game, but they did. Well, I was going to say they were comfortable. They were comfortable until the last 5 minutes. So they've had 2 great chances, and they could have been stung. I actually think Everton are I think they're in a false position. I don't think they're as good as I don't think they're
Agreed.
good at all. I think they're very. Don't get me wrong. On their day they can be, but last night I thought they were very, 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 very passive, and they were fortunate they won the game. And I've seen a lot of that this year. They've been purring a lot of their games. Like if you look at the way, just to compare them to Spurs and Arsenal, I think when Spurs and Arsenal play anywhere near their best, they're a far better side than Everton are.
Agreed. Yeah.
So West Brom, they give themselves half a chance with that result against Brighton. They were very fortunate. Lady Luck was shining on them. How do you see this one going?
It's going to be tight. I couldn't agree more about Everton. Seriously, I couldn't agree. I remember they were doing really well at the start of the season. I remember saying to the girlfriend, I says, they're Everton. Don't worry about Everton. I think because he's done an amazing job, Ancelotti. It's the manager. It's down to the manager where they are. It's because they have a fairly average squad. Let's be honest. They're not bad, but they could slip away very, very easily.
I will be shocked. I honestly will be shocked if they do.
Have a see.
I can actually see West Ham finishing. I actually, if you ask somebody to me, you see finishing, I would say West Ham have a better chance.
Hard to pick between the two. On West Brom, I think Allardyce has made them a wee bit more solid. I actually fancied them at the weekend there. I thought they were a massive 72 price at home.
They're seriously unlucky, but you can say unlucky, but they must have all these chances. I mean, Graham Potter must be tearing his hair out. If they get relegated, they'll be the best team in a long time to go down in terms of their overall play.
Brighton are a Harry Kane away from finishing top
10.
8. That's how good they are. Their play is unbelievable. Graham Potter's a fantastic coach. I remember saying to admit at the start of the season, this Brighton team's a good side. Now it probably doesn't look that they're a good side. The man, he's not anti-football as much as I am, but I've told them I want to see the way they play. The Tibble.
2 penalties in that game, but it's going to be an interesting one. I think he's going to be looking elsewhere in the summer. I think a big team not going from. I think he'll move on, to be honest, Potter. But West Brom Everton, I think it'll be tight as well. I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw.
Going to go 2-1 Everton.
Well, I'll put them in a good position too. But Fulham against the Harlem Globetrotters, Spurs. That's well. How do you see this one going, Colin?
I think it's going to be tough for the Globetrotters, to be honest. I think
it'll be a very tight game.
Again, Fulham's a wee bit like Brighton. I like them.
Last time it was one of the other times I had you on. We were playing Fulham, and you topped a 1-1 draw, and it was 1-1.
I think I like Scott Parker, and I like the way they get it down and knock it about. Again, I know they signed this Josh Maja boy. They're another top striker away from doing far better than what. See again. We spoke about it, Gareth. It's a thin line. CM strikers, they put the ball in the back, and you can have all the quality play, but they put the ball in the back of net. And this Josh Maja boy started all right for them.
Fulham and Brighton shouldn't be where they are. They're much better than a lot of the teams above them. The likes of Palace, the likes of Newcastle, the likes of Burnley. They're far better side. I think they will have enough. I think Newcastle's got 2 injuries now come out today. Almiron and St Maximin are out for the rest of for the whole of March.
Massive.
Start of April. I think that's big blow to them. I think Fulham will be looking up. I'm thinking they have a good chance of staying up. But I'm going to go first here. I actually think, maybe I'm getting carried away as well, but I actually think that Spurs will definitely for the time being play this attacking style of play over these next 2 games anyway. And I think for that reason they'll win this game. It'll be interesting to see if Bale can play again, or he rests him for the game on Sunday. But I think he'll need it more in this game. So I'm going to go for the Bale renaissance to continue and a 3-1 Spurs victory.
Well, I'm going to 3-1, right? I'm going to completely disagree and say Mourinho's going to revert back to his type, and Fulham will win 3-0. No. I just wanted to see your face. I think Spurs will have too much. I think they might have just too much for Fulham. I think Fulham will make it a decent game, but I think that firepower might be just back with Son and Kane. I think possibly 2-1, 3-1.
And the final game of the week, big one, final top four, Liverpool against Chelsea. Now this will be a great watch. I think Liverpool really only have one way of playing, and it'll be interesting. Chelsea as well, so I think it'll be quite an attacking game of football. How do you see it going, Colin?
It's going to be a hard one to predict. I don't think Liverpool can keep out Chelsea with their that central pairing in defence. I just don't see it. They struggled a wee bit of movement against Everton even. So and I think their last game, who was it?
Yeah, they're really wretched Anfield record at the moment too, haven't they?
Sheffield United got on a few times against them too. The other day. It's hard to say. I know it says I see Liverpool making a challenge for that top four, so I don't know. Maybe I might be going against myself here. I can see Chelsea getting a result. At least strong.
I know they're both attacking teams, but do you think there might be an element from the two managers that they don't want to lose this game? It could spoil it a bit, or do you think they'll both still go attacking?
No, I don't know how it could be a United and Chelsea game all over, but I suppose Liverpool only know they play the one way, and Klopp only knows they play the one way.
Yeah, I think it could really open up, and if it does, you would probably say Chelsea have more firepower. I know that it might sound silly, but that front three haven't really been firing all season. And I think Chelsea's on a good moment, but someone tells me it's going to be a draw. I just have a feeling. I'm going to go for an entertaining 2-2 draw.
It's hard to believe. I was going to say a Desmond too as well. I'm going with a Desmond.
You're going to go 2-2. Hey, Colin, thanks very much for coming on. Really enjoyed the chat. I think one of my favourite podcasts so far. I know we got carried away a few times. We went off track. We went off topic, and I'm in durable form today after the weekend. So maybe it's my fault. Maybe it's my fault. But hopefully we can keep this run going against Fulham, and you'll see a lot more smiles from me moving forward. But Colin, great to have you on again. I'll see you next month again for more insight and more patience probably required for the fans. Hey, cheers.
Good man. Enjoyed it. Cheers. Hey, good luck.